What if I told you? David never died. The antlers missed his heart, and the real story of the Lost Boys is much darker than the movie ever showed us. Tonight, we're going to dig into the hidden origins of David, the true king of Santa Carla. We'll uncover how the collapse of the Hudson Hotel in 1906 cursed the city forever, how David became tied to that curse, and how his bloodline gave birth to Shane Powers, the alpha vampire of the tribe. By the end of this, you'll never look at the Lost Boys the same way again. We all remember the scene. Michael impales David on a pair of mounted antlers. The camera lingers, his face frozen in shock, and then silence. But think about it. Did you notice what didn't happen? David never imploded. He never burned. He never turned to dust the way vampires usually do. When Max found his body, it wasn't shredded or mangled. It was perfect, untouched, almost preserved. Here's the truth the movie never told us. The strike missed his heart. It punctured his lungs, sure, but it wasn't the kill shot. And when Max died, the chain of command broke. David didn't perish with him. He was freed. But without a sire to anchor him, David became something else entirely. A rogue immortal. A vampire no longer bound by the rules of his bloodline. But to understand why David survived at all, we need to go back decades earlier. Santa Carla, 1906. The Hudson's Hotel collapse wasn't just some tragic accident in a small coastal town. It was sabotage. A coven of vampires had already claimed the city as their personal feeding ground. They preyed on travelers, sailors, and tourists, the kind of people no one would come looking for. When the hotel crumbled into the earth, it wasn't a natural disaster. It was a cleansing fire, a mass sacrifice meant to bury their crimes and fuel something far worse. The ruins became a ley-line crypt. The ground beneath Santa Carla was soaked in blood, the air heavy with the whispers of the dead. Shadows clung tighter in that place. Every scream and drop of blood spilt there didn't vanish. It lingered, waiting. And in the middle of all this, there was a boy. David wasn't always the leather-clad vampire king we know. He was human once. Born in the early 1900s, the son of a family that had traveled west during the last great push of the American frontier. His father worked the rail lines. His mother, a quiet woman of European descent, carried with her old world superstitions, tales of blood drinkers, night spirits, and curses. David was only a teenager when the Hudson's Hotel collapsed. Some say he lost his entire family that night, trapped in the rubble, alone, dying in the dark. When he was found, it wasn't rescuers who pulled him free. It was the coven. They saw something in him, his stubborn will, his hunger for survival, his anger at the world for taking everything away. Instead of killing him, they offered him a taste of something eternal. And David, broken, grieving, furious, accepted. That night, David became one of them. But he was never like the others. The collapse tied him to the curse in ways even the coven didn't understand. The blood-soaked soil of the Hudson's ruins became his cradle, his anchor. Decades later, when he and his Lost Boys claimed the hotel as their lair, it wasn't coincidence. He was returning home. The curse of 1906 had latched onto him the moment he was reborn, tethering his soul to something older than even he could comprehend. David wasn't just a vampire. He was a survivor of Santa Carla's original sin. After the Hudson's Hotel collapse of 1906, David wasn't the same boy who went in. The coven that turned him didn't treat him as family. To them, he was just another soldier in their endless war against humanity. But David was different. He wasn't content to follow. He was clever. He watched, learned, and adapted. While others fed like animals, David studied people. He learned how to talk, how to manipulate, how to make others feel like they belonged, even when he planned to use them. Through the 1910s and 20s, he haunted the railroads and coastal towns of California. He ran with drifters, gangsters, and bootleggers during Prohibition. He learned the thrill of motorcycles from outlaw clubs rising after World War II. Every decade shaped him, molding his fashion, his style, his taste for rebellion. By the 1960s and 70s, David had grown into a true predator. Where most vampires stayed hidden, David turned nightlife into his hunting ground. He blended with counterculture, the bikers, the punks, the rockers. To them, he wasn't an outsider. He was the leader everyone gravitated toward. He didn't just take blood. He took loyalty. But Santa Carla always pulled him back. The curse of the Hudson's Hotel wasn't just a memory. It was an anchor. No matter how far he traveled, he always returned to the crumbling ruins on the edge of the coast. And when he finally gathered his lost boys, Dwayne, Paul, and Marco, he brought them there. To them, it was just a hideout. To David, it was sacred ground. The place that made him. The place that would never let him die. By the time the Emerson family crossed his path in 1987, David wasn't just another vampire. He was the product of 8 decades of survival, style, and manipulation. A boy who lost everything in the ruins of Santa Carla, who rebuilt himself as a king. Fast forward to the infamous bonfire scene. David and the Lost Boys descend on a gang of surfers, ripping through them in a frenzy of fire and blood. But one of those men wasn't just a random victim. His name was Shane Powers. Already the leader of the Nazi surfers, Shane was ruthless, violent, and power-hungry. David saw something in him. Instead of killing him outright, David made a different choice. He let him taste the blood. He let him change. Shane became the first true child of David's bloodline. Michael and Star resisted. Laddie was halfway turned. But Shane embraced it. And here's the terrifying part. Shane wasn't loyal like the Lost Boys. Where David craved family and belonging, Shane craved power, domination, control, fear. When David vanished, Shane didn't just survive, he rose. He twisted David's dream of family into his own nightmare of violence. That's how Shane became the alpha we meet in The Lost Boys, the tribe. Here's the problem nobody in the sequels really talks about. Santa Carla isn't cursed just because it's a bad town. It's cursed because David never left. Every vampire outbreak in that city traces back to him. The tribe wasn't a random gang. They were living proof of his legacy. David is the ghost king of Santa Carla. Even asleep, his influence spreads. The Frog Brothers thought they were fighting new monsters every decade. But in reality, they were fighting David's shadow. So where is he now? Some say his body still lies in the ruins of the Hudson's Hotel, sealed in the darkness. Not dust, not dead, waiting, every drop of blood spilled in Santa Carla, every scream that echoes through the caves. All of it feeds him. One day he'll wake up, and when he does, he won't just be the David we remember. He'll be something older, something shaped by that 1906 curse. Not a vampire, not a man, but an elder, a god of the coast.